Welcome to Ron's Workbench. Hi everybody, I'm Ron Piskel, and welcome back to Ron's Workbench. In this episode, episode 13, we're going to start a new build. We're going to build Valley Hardware and Plumbing Supply by Motrack Models. This is one of their latest models. I ordered a little while ago, and like I said in my last video, we're going to start this build because I'm going to try and enter this into a contest. So, as you can see, I haven't even opened it yet. So, let's open it together, take a look, see what's inside, and we'll get started. Okay, so like I said, I haven't even opened this box yet. So, got a new blade to get started. I'll open up the box. All right. Let's take a look at what we find inside. First thing we see are colored instructions. It's pretty cool. Nice detailed instructions, good call outs. Okay, all right, let's see, we have some strip wood, we have our window castings and some details. Have some windows there, some more strip wood. Was a nice amount of strip wood for the build. Let's try and get this out. Tell you, it's pretty well packaged. The laser detailing is nice. Looks like there's some nice depth to the clapboard siding, and we have some roofing material and some acetate and some signage. All right, yep, and another little piece of strip wood. This looks like roof molding or soffit. So cool. Looks like it's a scale. Looks like a 2 by 10. Okay, so there you have it. Let's we'll start reading over the directions, and we'll go from there. Okay, so with any new build, what I like to do is I have purchased a little container, and with all of my builds, the first thing I like to do is to inventory everything and then place every piece in this container so it won't get lost, and everything, all the parts are in one place. It helps to be organized, and that way I know that at the end of any work session, any material that I haven't used goes back in the container, close it up, seal it up, and it stays on the bench. So there's a little tip for you. Okay, so another thing I like to do before I start any build is to completely clear off my work area. So that way I know that the only thing that's on my work surface is what I need for this build. Okay, so once I have my workbench straightened up and ready to go, and we can start reading the instructions here. Okay, so always go over your instructions. Okay. Before you try to build anything, it's important to read your instructions. I know this sounds silly, but read your instructions first before you start building. There may be a step or two that the manufacturer wants you to do before you begin, or while you're building something. There may be something in there that you need to do before you think there's another build, because you don't want to get 3/4 of the way into a build and then realize that something on the inside wall that has to be done that you have already glued up or sealed over. So that's just another tip. Now the other thing is we're going to go over our parts list. So let's open up the box, and we're going to take things out as we go through. So one of the first things is the base. So let's open up the pieces. Okay. Little part bag of wood. Okay, so this is part 14, 15, 16, and 18. Check. Open up the parts here. This would be parts 15, 8, 6, and 7. Those are good. This one is part number 1, and very nicely done by Jeff. All your parts, call outs are on there. So we're going to look and see what we've got. We've got all 12. We've got number 5, which is right there. Number 3. We've got 1C, 1D, 1E, 1B, 1A, 1F. So all these pieces right here are on this piece. We have our main sides. This is 5 and 3 for the main part of the building. let's see, this is wall number 4 and 12. Looks like that's the upper side of the dorm. And here we have, let's make sure we got it. This would be everything for the porches. Okay. Yep. These are the pieces that are called out to build the porches and the loading docks. And here is the rest of the floor. And then we have another plastic bag, some other parts. Let's take a look and see what we have. I have to say this is a very heavy model. That's pretty cool. This is the upper window and laser cut loading door. So that's, and it's right on there, 18A. So that's good. And then again, this is another piece to, well, this would be number 10, I believe. Yep, that's 10. These two pieces make number 11. And then this piece is number 9. So I'm looking over everything. All the parts are here. And as far as the wood parts, so let's put these all back in the smaller bag. Now again, this, you might think this is silly that I'm doing all this, but before you start building, you want to make sure you have every piece of the puzzle. Nothing more frustrating than getting halfway into building something and then finding out you don't have all the parts. Trust me, I work in the medical business field, and there have been times I have been doing installs and you're uncrating machinery, getting it all set, and your customer is chomping at the bit to use their new equipment, and you're going through all the cartons and the cases, and you find out something didn't get shipped. And then you got to stop, make a call, put everything on hold, and it's frustrating. So I have to say that Motrack did a wonderful job on these pieces. Basswood for the floor. Everything's good. So one of the last things we have to go over is, gives a call out for the windows. We should have 13 windows, 4 laser cut doors, which we've seen. We have 4 people doors. We have some crates. Looks like some concrete steps. And 1, 2, 3, 4 smaller windows, and they were in there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 people doors. Here you can see those nice laser cut windows that are going to go in the upper area of the building. And so looks like we got all the windows, all the parts, and we're ready to go. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read over the instructions, and then I'm going to stop, take a second, reread them again, and then we'll get started. Okay, so see you in a little bit. Okay, so before we start doing any building, we're going to add a little bit of detail and texture to the clapboard siding. I'm using a file card to do this, and I'm just trying to go in the direction of the clapboards. And what this is doing is giving a little unevenness and texture to the clapboard siding. Okay, now that I'm done using the file card, we're going to separate the walls from the wooden sprues. And I'm just going to use that neat little Fisker's knife that I talked about in my last video. And all I'm doing here is simply going along the laser cuts and freeing the parts from the wooden sprue. And as you can see, the file card did some of the work for me. So that made life easy. And again, just tracing around the laser cut, not using a lot of force. And all we're simply doing is freeing the part up. Now, you're going to see on this piece was a little tight. The laser cut wasn't as deep. So I just flipped the piece over and I'm tracing out on the back side. Okay, so we'll take a look at the instructions, and the next step is they tell you to go ahead and start painting and then brace. I'm going to go out of sequence here because I like to brace my walls prior to painting, and then that way I'm assured that they will not warp. So the kit comes with plenty of 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch strip wood for bracing. So we're just going to measure these out. I'm going to take my chopper and we'll get to bracing out the walls. Okay, so I'm going to take the chopper and I'm going to clean up the edge of the strip wood here to get a nice clean cut and square up the edges. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure each individual cut, make the cut, and glue on the bracing one at a time. Okay, so I'm just using the hobby knife to make a small mark on the strip wood, then I'm lining it up with the blade of the chopper so I can make a nice clean square cut. So I'm not the most graceful person in the world, and as you can see here, I start having a little bit of problem with the glue. I am just so used to the way that the weld bond flows out of the container. I'm trying to get used to using the tacky glue. So you'll see a few times I'm having problems getting the glue started. So the instructions tell you to take walls number 4, 6, 7, and 8, which are the smaller walls of the structure. And you're going to brace those directly up to the edge of each piece. And that's what we're doing here. And again, I'm just going to measure directly off the piece of wood, make a mark with the hobby knife, and then cut it with the choppers so we have nice clean cuts. I like to use the hobby mat because I know it's flat and square, and I'll use that to square up the bracing smack against the wall. Now, I'm changing my mind here because the working time with the tacky glue is a lot longer than the weld bond. And I noticed when I went to put the 1x2x3 block on there, the bracing moved. So you can see I took the bracing again with the wall and I squared it up. Here are all the walls braced and ready for the next step. In preparation of painting the structure, the first thing I want to do is put down a wash over all the bare wood. And this will help later on when we go to weather and paint. Choosing between two different types of washes. One is the India ink and alcohol mixture, and the other one is a neutral gray acrylic paint and water. And I'm going to practice on a piece of scrap wood first because I want to get the right color of wash before we begin. So we'll start with the neutral gray and water. And you can see it's pretty light and not too happy with it. So I think what we'll do is we'll add a little more gray paint to this wash. Okay, and again, its color is neutral gray, and I'm using a tiny little jelly jar to mix this in, and it's Folk Art neutral gray, and we added a little more gray into the water. We'll mix it up good, and we'll see how this turns out. It's still a little light to my liking, but we're going to do a comparative. So the next thing we'll move on to is the India ink and alcohol wash, and we'll do a side by side. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply some of the India ink and alcohol wash. So now that both washes are dry, I'm going to take a look at them, see what I think. The gray wash is too light for me, and I'm not happy with the tone of the color that it's giving the wood. It would be great for maybe seaside, but since we're talking about a building that's in the middle of the anthracite mining area, I think it's a little too white and too light. The India ink and alcohol wash is just a tad too dark. So I'm going to go ahead and add some more alcohol to the India ink wash to cut it. Now, I like using 99% alcohol because there is so little water content in it that the wash dries very quickly and it decreases your chances of getting warping. And I keep a jar of this on my workbench at all times for just weathering and, anytime I need to apply a like a shadow effect or anything like that. And as I use it and as the alcohol evaporates, it tends to get a little stronger. And here we have one of those happy little mistakes of modeling. I didn't have the lid screwed on as tight as I thought I had, and some of the wash splashed onto one of the walls. And I'm much happier now with this shade of wash. Now, as you see it's going on, it appears dark, but it does dry out a lot lighter. And I'm very happy with that. So we're gonna get everything ready and we'll start doing all the walls. And we'll use this one first, since I already have a little bit of the wash on there. And I'm just brushing it out. So we're just going to take the wash and we're going to go over all the walls with it. And I'm going to vary the amount of wash that I put on the walls as I go. Some areas I'll put it on a little heavier, and some areas I'll do a little lighter. But I want to cover each wall with the wash. And this is going to build up a nice base for when we paint and weather the building. Now, as I had said earlier, I mean, when you put the wash on at first, it is going to look darker. But as it dries, the wash is going to lighten up and it won't look as dark as it does right now. Now, you simply could just use multiple layers of this wash to give the building an old and weather-beaten look and not worry about actually painting the walls. And as I go ahead and apply the wash, I want to take a moment to thank everybody that has been tuning in to watch this series. When I started, I never thought I would even get past maybe 3 videos, but here I am on my 13th, and I appreciate all the support and all the kind words that I've received. And I really just want to thank everybody out there for watching. And if you are enjoying the series, please comment in the comment section below. Please share the video on other forms of social media. And if you'd like to, you can always give a thumbs up. And just let me know what you're thinking down in the comment section. Any suggestions for future builds or anything else you'd like to see me do, I'd love to hear from you. So thanks again for watching. And as I finish this up, I will see you on the next episode of Ron's Workbench. Thanks again for watching, and I pray that each and every one of you would have a blessed and happy week. On the next episode, we're going to find out what this sponge has to do with this building. On the next episode of Ron's Workbench.